afternoon or good morning, depending upon which part of the world you're in. My name is Andy Thomas Eamons. I'm the Strategic Director of the Tarsus Labels and Packaging Group. I'm going to talk to you today about Label Expo, and it's Label Expo Europe 2017. It's going to be the biggest show we've yet had in the history of the event. We're in 9 halls this year, over 670 exhibitors. We're going to be looking at some of the key themes and also technologies which will be launched at the show. Really, the strong focus of the exhibition is on automation and digital integration. So not just a launch of new digital presses, but the integration of conventional machinery into digital workflows. Going to talk then about some of the show features, including the Label Academy workshops and the masterclasses. So before I start, I'd just like to say that obviously we only have 30 minutes in this broadcast. Given the size of the show, we're only going to be able to cover a very small part of what's on show. So I would encourage you to visit the Labels and Labeling website. I'll give you the address at the end of this broadcast to keep up to date with what exhibitors are talking about, what's new at the show, and also to see the range of things available that I won't have time to cover today. So to start off then with Flexo press launches, I think what we're seeing with Flexo press technology at this show is an emphasis on various degrees of automation. So when you specify the machine, the ability to include or not include, for example, automated presetting or printing pressure control, etc. These are things now, there's a very wide range of, so you can really specify the same machine from being an entry-level pressure-sensitive press right up to a multi-substrate fully automated machine tool. Integration of semi-rotary die cutting, that's been a very interesting feature of this show. So we've only really seen semi-rotary die cutting up to now on intermittent presses and also on digital finishing equipment. But these are now getting up to the kind of speeds where they can be incorporated into full inline conventional Flexo presses, with the advantages of not having to change over the die cutting cylinder and very fast changeover of cutting die. Machines that you'll see at the show are multi-material capable, so increasingly, as we'll see, the presses are capable of running everything from PS labels to increasingly thin films, and we're going to be talking later about growth of package printing applications at the show. So it's really, on the Flexo side, evolutionary rather than revolutionary, and the key is efficiency and return on investment. But because it's evolutionary, it does not mean to say it's not important. This is a very important technology. So to start off with the Gallus Label Master Advanced Press, this is the most highly automated model of this press series, which was launched in 2016. Features, as you'll know, new lightweight aluminium cylinders, and was a joint development with Heidelberg in terms of the double print unit modules. And this will be the most advanced of the series now available from Gallus in this new press. Nilpida FA4 Asterisk, again, this is the latest development of the FA platform from Nilpida. Again, as we've seen with the Gallus Label Master, various levels of automation are being offered on this machine. But it's interesting to see that it's also a very high level of standard equipment, standard features, before you even start looking at further features of automation. So Nilpida's clean hand approach, which tries to minimize manual intervention on the press as much as possible, auto registration, job save record are all standard features on this press. From Omet, 2 developments really with the iFlex press. This has been around for some years, as you'll know, an established machine, but Omet will be introducing a film package chill drums, also a new sheeter. So really to increase the multi-materials capability of this press into extensible films. The X-Flex 6 now gets given a new designation, 6.0, and really we see development of new automation features, automatic pressure adjustment, what Omet's calling intelligent cruise control, which also adjusts during the press run for speed and also the material type. Omet's also showing a new version of its registration system, the Multivision, which has multiple micro cameras after each print unit, so it can color-to-color register. So independently, in other words, you don't have to wait until those marks get to the end of the press before you can start to implement automatic register control. On the Mark-Handy side, we see the semi-rotary. You see the semi-rotary die being implemented on the Performance P7 press. This is Mark-Handy's enhanced QC-DC quick change die cut module. So now this runs in either rotary or semi-rotary mode. What's interesting is that this is fully integrated into the press console, which allows switching between either full rotary or semi-rotary mode per job. So for example, if you're running long run jobs, you'll probably stay in rotary mode, or if it's variable short run jobs with variations, but long run overall, you're not changing the die cut shape or profile, so you'll probably stick to the rotary. But when you move to shorter run jobs, you can then move to the semi-rotary mode with all the advantages of semi-rotary die cutting. So you can see here the semi-rotary is now operating speed of 73 meters a minute, or 240 feet per minute, out to 1,000 feet a minute in full rotary mode. Edel is showing full automation on its FL3 press. That's what Edel calls the AIIR system, autonomous inking, impression, and registration. The press is configured with a Graphium 6-color inkjet unit, and I'll come back to this when we talk about hybrid Flexo digital presses later on in this presentation. So again, we see on the FL3 the implementation of rotary and semi-rotary die cutting, auto preset, and automated loading and unloading of tooling. And as well, we see auto slip knife setting on the end of the machine. So really a full automation package from Edel. MPS has an interesting development. Up to now, one of the problems that we've had in integrating conventional presses into wider factory control systems has been the inability of the press in a native format to talk directly to MIS or management information systems. So what MPS has developed, what it calls a talk-to-me communication protocol, which allows for real-time data exchange with a management information system in the native data format. There's also an app which you can download onto your smartphone or tablet, which gives press operators or managers remote access to these bidimensional data flows. And MPS has been testing these systems with both LabelTrax and with CERN. At the show, you'll be able to see live demonstrations of the Talk-to-Me communication protocol on an MPS fully automated EF press, and also MPS's EF SimJet hybrid press. You'll be able to, as a visitor to the stand, you'll be able to download the app, and so you'll be able to watch these data communication happening in real time as the demos are going on. And again, as you can see here from the photograph on the lower right, MPS is also launching a semi-rotary fast change die for its presses. Let's move now from conventional to digital presses. There are two really very significant world premieres at this Label Expo. The first one is a new company. The new company is called Mouvant. It's a joint venture between Bob's and Radex. What you'll see here is a 7-color UV inkjet press, 1200 by 1200 dpi, and printing speeds up to 100 meters a minute. These kind of speeds at this resolution are made possible by a new design concept which Mouvant calls the cluster design, which clusters inkjet heads together. And the machine will be available in widths of 170 millimeters and 340 millimeters. The second world premiere, important world premiere of this show will be Uteco. It's currently calling it the Gaia press, which is the first electron beam press at the show, fully commercialized electron beam inkjet press. It's also Uteco's first entry into the label market. Uteco, of course, is best known for its wider web machines, its CI Flexo presses. Although the CI Flexo presses also do print shrink sleeve labels and wraparound labels, so Uteco has been involved in labels, but this is its first dedicated label press. So it's a joint venture then between Uteco, eBeam, and INX Digital Inks. The basis of the press is the eBeam Compact 8400 curing unit. And what's interesting about this is that up to now, electron beam has really only been seen on more expensive, big, wider web machines, which are doing flexible packaging, particularly for indirect food applications. The point about eBeam electron beam technology being that there are no photo initiators in the ink. So it's effectively, there's nothing to migrate into foodstuffs. So it's very well suited, electron beam technology, for indirect food contact applications. So it's really quite an impressive technical feat to bring the size of these units down to where you can now put it inside a narrow web inkjet press. So the Uteco press prints in 4 colors, resolutions up to 720 by 360 dpi, and current speeds are up to 25 meters a minute. And you can see it's all in a very compact format. Screen launched the TruePress Jet 350 UV a few years ago now. It's an established press. Many converters have bought more than one, so it's successfully implemented in the label market. Screen will be launching 2 new models of this press at Label Expo. So the first is the TruePress Jet 350 UV LM, and this is dedicated to be a low migration press, so for indirect food complex applications, pharma, for example, or any indirect food packaging applications. It has a nitrogen inerting unit and a new low migration ink set from Screen. Secondly is the Jet L350 UV Plus, called Plus because it's adding a 6th color, orange, to the existing CMYK and white. Also adds a chill roller for heat-sensitive materials to increase the materials gamut. And on both these models, Screen has increased the printing speed to 60 meters a minute. Duist, in fact, I just got a press release this morning from Duist saying that the first of the beta sites, the label makers in Bradford in the UK, have just been announced for this new TAL 330 RSC press. The importance being that it's higher resolution and speed than the standard TAL press, which of course has been in the market now for some years. Prints speeds up to 78 meters a minute, 1200 by 1200 dpi resolution. It's an 8-color press printing CMYK, orange, green, violet, and white, and uses a new series of high pigmented inks from Duist. It's available in various configurations, including with an optional inline laser, and also configured with the Omet Xflex X6 units, and we'll talk more about that later on in this presentation. Epson has claims to have installed around about 100 of these 4033 aqueous presses in the market globally, so it's a successful machine, and this is the latest version of the 4033 short press, so the 4533. So it really builds on the legacy of the 4033. There's no change in press speeds here, but it is a more productive press. There are fewer passes at the scanning head, and faster data speed increases, increasing the machine's productivity. Six color machine, like the 4033, CMYK, orange and green, and with a base white. And again, these are aqueous inks for this press. Zycon, I think there's a big announcement earlier this year from Zycon that the company has now adopted UV inkjet technology, of course having pioneered dry toner technology in the 3000 and 3500 series of presses. Zycon has really said its move to UV inkjet as a complement to its existing dry toner machines. So this is the PX3000, which is being launched at the show. The UV inkjet press, it uses a new generation of what Zycon's calling its PanThecure UV inks. It's on a web width of 330mm, standard for this kind of machine, printing up to 50 meters a minute, 600 by 600 dpi, and in CMYK plus white. Digital embellishment, this is really an interesting theme. We saw this really starting to take off at the last Label Expo in Chicago. This is where we're talking here about the use of primarily inkjet to add post-print effects, particularly varnishes, 2 and 3D effects. But also, as we'll see later, these same systems are also capable of jetting color as well, providing effectively extra color stations. But let's start off looking at digital embellishment. An exciting announcement at the show is the full commercialization of the HP Indigo GEM unit. You might have seen this in Chicago, and at Drupa there was a prototype of this unit, but effectively adds single pass digital embellishment to the WS6800. The company that developed this, JetFX has been working closely with HP Indigo now on several years, this system, and it's tightly and fully integrated. It uses a system of dual arrays which allow multiple decoration options within the same unit. So, for example, you can varnish over a cold foil, a digital inkjet varnish over a cold foil. It's printing the cold foil adhesive. What's interesting, the difference between the machine you may have seen the last Label Expo or at Drupa is the cold foil reels are outside the machine in a kind of traditional tower. They've now been installed inside the body, GEM body of the machine. So the ability to cold foil to do 2D and 3D inkjet embellishment. So for example, spot gloss and matte UV inkjet varnishes. But to me, the really interesting thing about this is that it's fully integrated into the digital front end of the machine. We are treating digital embellishment as you would traditional layers, say for example a varnish plate layer inside Illustrator. But what it means is that the variable digital finishing can follow the variable print. And this is particularly interesting when you look at the Mosaic software, which HP Indigo has developed, and which allows randomization of set design elements within a design scheme. Obviously, you can now follow those randomized elements with the finishing unit. So it'll be very exciting to see what converters do with this equipment. FFEI will be launching PrintBar Uncovered. This uses the Xaar print heads on the PrintBar, which goes across the width of a conventional press or a rewinder. And FFEI are going to be showing how this can be integrated on OEM machines, either conventional presses or on rewinders. To add this additional digital capability, can handle, because of the Xaar heads, the recirculating technology that Xaar pioneered, a wide range of fluids and inks, so including spot colors, protective lacquers, high build spot, tactile varnish, over and under whites, and indeed cold foil adhesives. Konica Minolta MGI, so MGI are stand sharing on the Konica Minolta stand. They'll be showing the Jet Varnish 3D. This has multiple inkjet arrays, and again, the same kind of idea to be able to print 2D and 3D effects, including spot UV coating. It also has a hot foiling unit, so the ability to handle embossed hot foiling without the use of dyes. Also a flexo pre-coating unit, where you need to prepare the surface for ideal UV inkjet coating. This is an offline machine. Mprint is launching the M-Label Gen 3 UV inkjet press, which is interesting from our point of view here because it integrates the Kurtz digital metal UV ink technology, which does give some very impressive foiling effects. And again, the ability to integrate this with variable print multicolor is a very interesting option. Digital retrofits. So this is where we have an existing conventional press, typically a flexo press, and you're going to be retrofitting digital units. These can either be the kind of embellishment units that we've been looking at earlier. So, for example, the FFEI PrintBar, or they can be either single color or multiple color digital modules. So to add a variable print capability or a spot color capability to existing conventional presses. Mark Andy at the show will be showing a single color inline UV inkjet print station. This will be integrated onto the Performance P7 press. This unit is available either as a retrofit or can be rail mounted on new presses. It has capability to print an opaque white, which Mark Andy is claiming is equivalent to certainly a UV flexo white in terms of opacity, and also approaching screen white opacity. And also, obviously, this can handle variable data printing, or add variable data printing capability to a flexo press. Operates speeds up to 73 meters a minute, 240 feet a minute, with interstation pinning. Again, it will be demonstrated on the Performance P7 press on the Mark Andy stand. Colordyne. Colordyne up to now has been known for its water-based memjet integration technology. This is Colordyne's first venture into UV inkjet with the new 3600 series UV retrofit. As you can see from the photograph, this is a module, CMYK plus white, which can be retrofitted to any existing conventional press, or indeed to a rewinder or finishing unit. Prints CMYK plus white, speeds up to 73 meters a minute, 600 by 600 dpi, or 600 to 1200 dpi depending upon speed. And again, as we said, it's based around Colordyne's existing experience in integrating digital printing technology onto existing conventional presses. Domino is launching a Label Expo, its K600i, a dedicated white digital print module. And again, this is very much targeted as an alternative to a conventional screen white on a press, also including a variable digital printing capability. So we can see this theme developing that with these new generation of inkjet units, really kind of looking to see whether a screen white or whether a Flexo UV white can be replaced with inkjet, which also of course gives you the ability to vary the white under print before printing conventionally on top of that. The new fluorescent ink as well, this is being launched by Domino for the K600i, and this obviously has great implications for security printing capabilities. Hybrid digital and Flexo. So one significant trend we've seen in the last 2 to 3 years is all the main conventional press manufacturers moving into digital, but using their existing conventional press technology and mixing and matching multiple color digital print units with their conventional Flexo press technology. I mentioned this earlier. Durst and Omet now have a tie-up whereby they are offering a hybrid configuration of the Tau digital press, either the Tau or the Tau RSC being launched at the show. And this can be mixed and matched with any of the Omet X-Flex X6 conventional press units. So configurations can include jumbo unwinders, various kinds of pre-treatment, web cleaning, and a range of post-press options. Nilpida Panorama, again, a machine that's been around for a few years. But what's interesting about this press is that Nilpida has completely redesigned the converting Flexo printing stations to fully integrate with the digital print engine, so for much more efficient, fast changeover between jobs. And also features upgraded in integration and color management systems. You'll also be able to see the latest version of the established hybrid presses, Gallus Label Fire, Mark-Andy Digital Series, the MPS Simjet, and as we noted earlier, the Edale FL3 incorporating the Graphium digital print unit. One significant trend we're seeing at Label Expo is a move towards package printing. And this is really just happening as a natural result of the fact that modern Flexo presses, as we said earlier, and increasingly digital presses, are able to print on a wide variety of materials, and particularly when you start adding chill drums or cool running UV curing systems, soft tension control systems. So you're naturally now being able to run not just PS labels, but also a range of thinner films, shrink sleeves, wraparound labels, now including pouches and sachets, and also in some cases folding cartons on smaller value-added formats. And this has also encouraged the narrow web press manufacturers to develop a new range of mid-web presses. I say mid-web, we're really sort of talking in a range of, say, 600 to 900, 950 millimeters, both conventional and digital. I'd just like to talk about the launch of a very exciting initiative at this Label Expo, the Food Safe UV Group. This includes all the major press manufacturers. So, for example, Bob's, Gallus, Mark-Andy, Nilpida, Omet, and the rest. And it also includes the major ink manufacturers, for example, Flint Group and Seaworks, Sun Chemical, and many others. The cheering companies, for example, GEW, IST, and also is working closely with RadTech, so the industry bodies, and also with FINAP. And the purpose of this group is to develop new standards, certification standards, for UV curing on indirect food contact applications. This will particularly apply, obviously, to flexible packaging, but also to many labels products where potential migration issues are currently making us turn to low migration UV flexo inks and systems. So this group will have its first meeting at Label Expo. We'll be meeting with several key brand owner companies to really start to open up a discussion about how to develop a safe UV certification program, which will enable UV to move with more confidence into these areas of flexible packaging, folding cartons, and labels where migration is a potential issue. It's very exciting for the future of Label Expo. Also on the packaging side, package print side, HP Indigo is launching its full commercialization of its Pack Ready system. And again, we've seen various prototypes and iterations of this at previous Label Expo, but this is the first really fully integrated and ready-to-go ecosystem, not just a question of machinery, but also coatings, expertise in lamination. So this is a zero cure time lamination system for flexible packaging production. You'll also be able to get information on the Pack Ready coating, which allows production of retort pouch production. And when I saw a prototype of this machine in Israel, it was feeding directly onto a retort pouch manufacturing machine. This is very interesting also for example, contract packers. And Label Expo is very much making moves towards bringing contract packers and end users now into the show to see this kind of equipment. It has the same format as the HP Indigo 20,000 press, so it really can be seen as a kind of short-run, instant cure, flexible packaging system. Bob's is launching a new press at Label Expo, which will be heavily engineered towards flexible packaging production. We've not seen any details of this machine yet. It's being the wraps will be taken off at the show itself. What we do believe is that it'll incorporate inline UV dose measurements to be a very important part of the food safe UV certification model, which we hope to develop. So measuring the energy dose at the surface of the material and not just at the lamp, so to be able to prove at the end of the run that every meter of the web has received the correct UV dose. And this press configuration before we've seen using low migration inks and also solventless lamination. So we'll see at the show how this new press is configured. So I'm just moving now to our last few slides. I'd like to talk about some of the events which are happening around Label Expo and some of the feature areas at the show. So to start off with the Label Academy, I'm sure you'll all be aware that my colleague Mike Fairley, the guru of the label industry, this is really his project. Label Academy aims to bring together the expertise of the industry in a series of textbooks and training initiatives. And there will be 2 new Label Academy books launched at Label Expo, Shrink Sleeves and Management Information System Automation. And each of these new books will be accompanied at the show by a masterclass, which will be held on the Wednesday of the show, Shrink Sleeve Masterclass, and also the MIS Automation Masterclass. And if you want to register for these, there are still places open. And please go to the Label Expo website, www.labelexpo-europe.com. I will be running the inks and coating workshop again on the Wednesday morning of the show. And there will be Inks and Coatings Label Academy book being launched later on in the year. The show features if you look here at the top left, this is the first time that we're attempting this very ambitious new automation arena. We've talked a lot about various levels of automation available now on conventional flexo presses, but also digital presses obviously allow the possibility for highly automated workflows. But these do require label converters to make lots of different pieces of equipment from different manufacturers work together and talk to each other in an automated workflow. So at this automation arena, this is exactly what we are aiming to show. So how a file starts off from the design software on, for example, the ESCO system, and then how it's handled by the management information system. In this case, it'll be CERN. And then how this then moves on to incorporate a fully automated press. And the example here will be an MPS highly automated machine, and then feeding onto an automated graphotronic rewinder, which will be launched in this configuration at the show with the CERM and a link from the AVT inspection camera. So really sort of looking at a whole fully automated workflow from file handling and management right the way through to the final inspected product on the rewinder, and using a camera mounted on the press. So as well as the conventional press, there will also be a Zycon digital press, so showing how that same workflow works for a digital press. There will be demonstrations, so you can download this demonstration schedule from the Label Expo website, and it'll be located in Hall 11. So each session will be around about 30 minutes long. Just before we come to this concluding slide, I'd just like to draw attention to the linerless trail. The linerless trail, linerless technology, it's really hasn't moved very much, say, in the past really couple of years in terms of the adoption. It's still mostly for logistics and VIP applications. But we are seeing more interest from end users in prime label applications, and also from supplier companies in allowing converters to convert linerless labels in-house and even on bolt-on machinery to existing flexo presses, as well as standalone converting machinery. So on the linerless trail, we'll really be seeing what the latest developments are in this technology. And indeed, as liner weight becomes more of an issue, it may well be that more end users show willingness to adopt the kind of investment in dedicated linerless application machinery. So to conclude, as I said earlier, there are many, many more things to see at Label Expo than I've been able to cover here. Many times when people ask me, well, what should I see at the show? I say, make time to walk around the show. Particularly have a look at some of the smaller stands, because it may well be that there you'll see something which will be the big take-home for you from the show, which maybe other people have missed, as well as seeing the big beasts of the show, the big major technology launches. Do take time with your colleagues to walk around the show to the smaller stands. Other key themes I've not been able to really cover here: LED, UV, low migration inks, automation of plate making, finishing integration. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. This webinar will be available online. But before you go, I'd like to just ask you if you'd like to participate in a couple of polls which we're running. And when we run the polls, we will then have a Q&A session, which you'll be able to ask any questions as they go on for around about 15 minutes. But first of all, just like to open these polls. So the first question is, will you be attending Label Expo Europe? Yes or no? Second question, will you be making buying decisions at Label Expo? And our final question, where will you make your next investment? Will it be in digital presses, in conventional presses, in finishing, or in workflow automation? Thank you. So I'd now like to open up to Q&A. So please do submit any questions that you have. Okay, so the first question we have here is, which I'll read out, with the package printing developments you outline, will Label Expo no longer be focused on labels? The answer to that is that Label Expo will always be a labels-focused show. Over the years, it's already expanded naturally. So, for example, started out very much as a pressure-sensitive show. It's now moved out to mold labels, to shrink sleeves, to wraparound, and also wet glue. So it's naturally expanded as the technology possibilities have expanded. And I just see package printing just being a natural extension of the show. So I think what we'll end up with is a package printing show, particularly with the, if we can have the UV certification for indirect food contact. I foresee a future where the show will also be very much focused on flexible packaging, folding cartons, but not on a long run, but on the shorter run, value-added type of applications. Okay, the second question we have here is, Flexo is becoming more efficient. Will this stop or slow the growth of digital press sales? Flexo certainly is becoming more efficient process. If you look at, for example, fixed palette printing, where you're just printing, say, with 6 or 7 colors, not having to wash your press down between jobs, the move towards semi-rotary die cutting, sleeves, very efficient on short runs, but there will always be an area where it's not efficient to print using flexography. So digital will always have a place. I think it also, as flexo presses get more efficient, it makes us concentrate much more, which we should be doing, on the unique selling points of digital. Variable information, security printing, value-added applications, not really just seeing the digital press anymore as just a short-run flexo press. Okay, the next question. Are the major press manufacturers now more focused on digital than conventional printing? From my conversations with the major press manufacturers, they still see digital as being very much one component of an inline printing process. So if you look at the history of the label industry, we've always integrated new processes as they've come along. You know, so we started out with letterpress and screen. We added screen to letterpress, and then when UV Flexo came along, we still kept screen. When Offset join the party, would have flexo coating units. So we've always found ways of integrating each process within an inline press, and I think that the major press manufacturers really see digital this way. It's just one more inline process which can be integrated in various ways into a conventional press line. So I think that's all we've got time for today. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. It's going to be a fantastic and fascinating Labour Expo show, and we very much look forward to seeing you in September in Brussels. And thank you very much.